Okay, hello again. This is now tarot lesson number 82, and I'm uploading on Thursday the 15th of February, and I may go to England a week tomorrow for a week. I don't know. I'll let you know. So today I want to do a couple of little things. One is a continuation, well, not a continuation, but something I didn't say last time with when the question was about the Wheel of Fortune and the world. I used to know somebody years ago, and for her, the world, when she looked at the world card, she saw the woman stepping through some kind of opening into a new beginning. So for her, the world was a card that indicates a new beginning or a fresh start, or the need to do something new or to do something different and do it for the first time. It's because as far as she was concerned, that when you look at the picture, the woman is about to step through or step into something, so it's a beginning. Whereas for me, I look at the Wheel of the world card, and it seems to me it's more like success or a successful conclusion, or yes, there will be a good outcome if it's a card for the showing in the future. So, but it's the difference between, for me, it's not so much a new beginning, it's more a successful end. And then other cards would show about the nature of the new beginning. Whereas, the death card, I tend to look at the death card as new beginnings. Not so much, well, yes, things end, but what's important about the death card, I think, or I tend to interpret, is that it's time for a fresh start, or a new beginning is going to take place. So, I think if I'm assuming that there's a part of the questioner knows what's meant to happen or what they're going to go through or why they're going through it. There's a wise part of the individual, of everybody. And that wise part of the questioner talks to or communicates with the wise part of the reader and gives you, the reader, the answer. And that's why you pick some cards and not others. So the way I look at things is, if I'm supposed to tell the person it's time for a new beginning or there's going to be a fresh start, then I will in some way automatically or correctly pick the death card. It will show up in the reading. Whereas if I'm supposed to talk about successful conclusions, then I would again automatically or correctly pick the world card. So it's a bit like, depending on what sense you tend to make of any particular card. So if you think that the Five of Pentacles represents poverty and sadness and hopes that didn't materialize and depression and despair, and you have to talk about that kind of experience with the questioner, then the Five of Pentacles will come up. And that's why it comes up, because you're meant to talk about despair and things going badly, so that you can then maybe suggest how they deal with that kind of situation. So I think what's going on with a tarot spread and a tarot reading is that the questioner, the reader has certain ideas, and the cards that come up will prompt the reader to talk about those particular ideas. So it's not so much, does the world represent new beginnings or does the death card represent new beginnings? For me, this is new beginnings, this is success. For the person I told you about, she happened to be Australian, and I knew her 40 years ago. For her, the world was about new beginnings, and the death card was about endings and success. So who's right? It depends I think it depends on what's the message that, or the answer that the questioner is supposed to get. And I say supposed to, because I think there's a wise part of everybody who knows what they need to know, and that's why particular cards come up rather than others. So that was point one. Point two is, I remember years and years ago, I saw a video from somebody, and he said what you do is you lay cards out like this, and if you want to know the answer, you run your hand across the top of the deck like this, and then you get an impression of power or energy or something emanating from a particular card, and that's the card that you choose because it's calling to you. And I don't think that's at all what's going on, because this is a piece of cardboard with a picture on it. It doesn't have energy. It's not a living, breathing thing. And so I think when you do this kind of thing, the impression or the energy that the person says you're supposed to feel from a card, it actually starts with you. It's within you, and it's your imagination that's telling you this is the card to pick, because that's what the answer is going to be. So there was a comment left. I can't remember who left it, but I thought it would kind of answer his question. So because he said I often don't have a question, maybe use the tarot to tell you what the question is supposed to be, or what the question is. And I thought we might experiment a little bit with that. So you could, in your own time, with your practice, say that we don't know what, if let's say the question doesn't know what to ask about. So you pick a card, and so what do you want? What's the question supposed to be about? It's supposed to be about the Four of Swords. It's supposed to, and then you look at the picture and you make sense of what the picture shows. So maybe the Four of Swords is about how do you find inspiration? And that's what you're meant to ask about. And I say that because we've got swords hung up, and we've got the person lying, and nothing much is going on. But up here in the top left, you've got colour and activity, and you've got somebody blessing somebody else. So it can be that, yes, the main part of the picture is showing nothing much happening, and it's a period of tranquility maybe, or it's rest, or it's enforced stopping, because this person is a statue of some sort. So he's not alive anymore, or he's not living and breathing and doing what he does. But up here, there's activity and there's something going on. So it can be with this Four of Swords, the question is about how do you find inspiration. So if that's the question, what's the answer? The answer is, how do you find inspiration? The Chariot. You figure out where you want to go, and in trying to figure out where you want to go, you will automatically be inspired. Because I think what we have to do is remember that this is the card that you pick is the answer. Whether you understand it immediately or not, it's the answer. And it's up to you, the reader, to make sense of it. Not to remember somebody else's meaning or something you learned, but to think about the question that was asked, and the card that comes up is going to give you it's going to deliver the answer. So the question was, for instance, with this Four of Swords, how do I find inspiration? And the answer is through the Chariot card, through studying ancient Egypt maybe, because we've got sphinxes here, or through thinking about where you want to go and how you want to get there, because it's a chariot, it's a vehicle, and what's important is the driver. Whereas if the answer is how do you find inspiration, and you get this card and you get the Nine of Swords reversed, that's how you find inspiration. Through, I suppose, if this is somebody remembering or thinking about bad stuff, or disappointment, or being stabbed in the back, or having conflict with other people, but it's upside down. So how do you find inspiration? Stop thinking about the things that don't inspire you. Because I'm saying, I'm looking at the card and it's upside down, so I'm saying don't do that. Don't be like that. If it's upright, do that. Be like that. If it's upside down, don't be like that. And that can be a general idea that you apply to any card, upright or reversed. So we look at the picture in the card and it's saying don't do that. Don't focus on what went wrong. Don't concentrate on, don't keep going over a disappointing experience again and again and again. You can be like Glenn in The Walking Dead. I think I mentioned this before, where Glenn, somebody once said to Glenn, why do you always imagine the worst? And Glenn said, I imagine the worst not because I expect it, but so that I can prepare for it. Whereas here, with the Nine of Swords reversed, your tendency, or the tendency of the questioner, is to keep going, imagining the worst, because they expect it. And because they imagine it, they're sort of bringing it about, or making themselves go through the experience again and again and again. So because the card is upside down, don't do that. When you find yourself thinking about something unwanted or undesired, or something that makes you feel weak and helpless, stop thinking about it and think about something else that's uplifting and exciting and interesting. Which I hadn't expected to say this, but it reminds me of, I need a piece of paper and I don't have one handy. Don't want to stop the video. What's here? The phone number's on here. What does that say? I'll just tell you. It has to do with the idea that Aries represents the urge to incarnate, and you go backwards through the zodiac, or through the houses, or through the zodiac. So you go in the womb, you go through Pisces, and you learn about belief, and then you go through Aquarius. It's 10 months, 9 months in the womb, and each sign. It takes the sun about 1 month to go through each sign of the zodiac. So you've got Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn. So you learn about belief and knowledge and utilizing or using things, then understanding and so on. You come back. You incarnate in Cancer. But there are 2 signs that you don't have experience of in the womb. Gemini, which is I think, and Taurus, which is I have. So you come into life, you don't know how to think, you don't know how to have. You know, people's possessions own them, they don't own possessions. And we think, but we don't. Usually we're just assuming. So somebody says, I told you to do this. Oh, I thought you meant that. You didn't think they meant that most of the time. You assumed they meant what you wanted them to mean. So with all that in mind, don't know what I did with those cards anymore, but with the Nine of Swords, okay, I'm saying we don't know how to think, so there's benefit for us, an advantage for us, if we accept that we're not that great at thinking and we need to learn how to think. And maybe step number 1 is begin to think about what you want rather than try to stop thinking about what you don't want. I mean, it's like if you've ever smoked cigarettes and you had to give up smoking and you spend 24 hours a day thinking about the fact you're not smoking, you might as well be smoking because you're focused on cigarettes. It's very difficult to give things up because we tend to keep thinking about it, which keeps it in our orbit, or it keeps it, we tend to keep noticing it, and it reinforces the thing that we don't want. Whereas with the Nine of Swords reversed here in this idea, you focus on what you want, which can take us back to how do you find inspiration with the Chariot, the charioteer. Where do you want to go? Why? What direction do you want to go in? Who do you want to go with you? And if you're thinking about something that you actually want, you will get excited and you'll be motivated to actually go ahead and do it. Whereas by contrast, with the Nine of Swords reversed, if you just keep thinking about what you don't want, you're not going to make anything better. Okay, so I don't know what the time is, but let's say a second example. What's the question? The question is the star. It's kind of inspiration again. How do I make a name for myself? Is the question. So what do I do that will make my name live on after me? What do I produce? What do I create? Who do I become involved with so that I make a lasting contribution to the world? Because that's kind of the nature of the star. And how do I do it? Or how does the questioner do it? And again, we pick a card. You do it through Temperance reversed. Again, Temperance, if we take it upright, Temperance can be finding the right combination of you and other people, or the right combination of your emotional state or emotional desires, but it's upside down. So don't do what you don't want to do. Don't get involved with people that you know are not right for you, or they're not your type of people, or they're not on the same page, or they're going in a different direction. Because Temperance can represent blending and alchemy and transforming one thing into another. In the Tarot or Guide on the Open Road book, I mention about the Temperance card representing alchemy. So you get different ingredients. You get flour, water, oil, yeast and salt. Mix it together and it's dough. But you put it in an oven, a sealed container, and apply heat, and it turns into a loaf of bread, which you can eat, assuming you eat bread. So there's something about the Temperance card. You take different bits and pieces of your personality or different types of people, and you put them all together, and sometimes it's going to turn into something fabulous. Other times it's just going to fall flat. So don't get involved with people or projects or situations that are going to make you fall flat, because it's Temperance upside down. So you might want to try that kind of idea. If you're not sure what the question is, pick a card and let it tell you what the question is meant to be about. And then pick a card for the answer. And then pick another card for the answer to the same question. Or pick a card for the next step after the first card. Okay, that's the answer. What next? Or what do I do after that? Or how do I develop what's shown by the first card? So, I don't know what time it is, but that's probably long enough. So thank you for watching, and have a good day, and I'll see you sometime next week. Anyway, have a good day. Okay, bye-bye.